Well, good morning. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I am Steve Smith. Excuse me if my voice is still a little scratchy. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to talk a little bit about overly aggressive policing today and the dangers of it. But first, I want to give a shout out to several of our subscribers. We've been out at the last few days out at the Old Settlers Days in Olathe, Kansas. It's one of those big fall festivals. It's been and Old Settlers Days is. I'm sorry if I looks like I'm in a shadow there, but you don't need to see my face anyway. But the sun's starting to come down on me. That's why a hat's better than a cap. For those of you who ask. And the Old Settlers Days is the big one around here. It's Olathe is the county seat of Johnson County, Kansas, and it was just great. And Kelly had her soap booth out there, and I meant to take pictures of it and I forgot. But three of our before I get in, I took a video of the parade. For those of you who like that, and it really is cool. I mean, I'm not really a parade guy. I've worked too many, but I just love watching them sometimes because they are really what America's about. The high school marching bands and the cheerleaders and the different, businesses that come out and the parade. And it just, I tell you, there was a couple of times in there when one of the bands was playing a particular song, and I got a little bit of a chill. It just reminds me of what America is supposed to be about. But I'm going to put that over not on Patreon. I'll put it over on the American Reversion channel for anybody who's interested in watching that. And it's 30 minutes of relaxation and saying, we've got enough of craziness in this world, and here is some good Americana. So, grab yourself a lemonade or a corn dog and sit down and watch that, and you might enjoy it. But I want to shout out to several of our subscribers who stopped by the soap booth. Sherry, Mike, and his wife Jennifer came by, and we had the nicest conversations. I just loved, and I made this announcement. If you're in the area, stop by and say hi. And it was starting to rain when they came by, so we were all huddled under the tent, and we just had a great conversation with that, and I love that. And for you all stopping by, and I know you didn't do it for this reason because you didn't know that I was going to do this, but a signed copy of my first book, The Reversion, will be on its way to you all this coming week. So to you guys, it was great meeting you. And these are some fine people. It doesn't take more than a couple of minutes talking to them to know that these are exactly the kind of people that we do this for and that we would want around us, when it all goes tumbling down, as it were. And we will be, and I forget what order it's in. We're going to be at one in Mound City, Kansas. We're going to be at one in Warsaw, Missouri. And we're going to be at one in Jamesport, Missouri. And I'm not sure when those are. One might be coming up next weekend, or maybe it's 2 weeks. I forget. Anyway, I'll come on and I'll give you all the dates. If you'd like to come by and say hi, we'd love to see you. Come over and chat with us for a while. Let us get to know you. Okay, so thank you guys for coming by. It was a pleasure to meet you. I just watched a video, and it's not a new video. It's one about I guess it was 10 months old, and it was one of those things that you watch one thing and then something else comes, or something's on your feed, and then something else is about it, and all of a sudden something came up that interested me, and it was about some local cops arresting an ATF agent. And this was, and some of you probably know about this if you keep up on this stuff more than I do. But it was, apparently it happened in Columbus, Ohio about 10 months ago. At least that was the timestamp on this video. And the situation was that the Columbus PD received a call that there was a person identifying themselves as a federal agent And I won't get into the particulars. If you want to watch it, you can either find it on your own. I think it's under Audit the Audit, and I'll also put the link over on when I put this on Patreon. I'll put the link to that video down below so that you can see it for yourself. So PD gets a call that there's somebody, and they try to spin this. The original officer tries to spin this like, oh, I got the call that somebody was trying to break in. Well, apparently what really happened is the woman called the police. This guy shows up at the door, asks for so-and-so, identified himself as a federal officer. She wouldn't let him in. She called 911. Good for her, smart. Say there's somebody here identifying themselves as a federal agent, and apparently gave the PD dispatcher the agent's name and badge number, or whatever they use nowadays. And the responding officer claimed on video during the big mess that's coming up that, well, I was just told somebody was trying to break in. Well, I don't think that really played out the way that he represented it. Anyway, so we see body camera footage from the guy showing up. First thing we see is he is out there, gun up, screaming at this guy. I forget what he starts screaming at first. Get on the ground or show me your hands, or one thing or another. One thing or another. But that's what he's doing, and I don't know, he's probably 50 feet away, and he's got his gun on the guy. And the guy responds. He says, "I'm a federal officer," and this cop just keeps screaming. And I mean, he was out of control. I mean, you could tell by the timbre of his voice, screaming, "Get on the ground, get on!" And I don't remember if that's exactly what he said, or "Show me your hands," or "Hands up," or it just went. It was all convoluted. This guy was not in control of himself or the situation, and he just keeping screaming at the guy, and the guy's got papers in his hands, and he's got his hands up. You can't see him. He's got some papers, and apparently he was there to check on whether somebody had bought a shotgun who then it came back he wasn't supposed to have a gun, and administrative stuff. It happens all the time. And the guy, the Fed, says, he was condescending, and he was, but he says, no, I'm a federal agent. And it escalates because the cop keeps screaming, "Get on the ground, get on the ground." The Fed says, "No, I'm not going to do it. Ain't going to happen." And apparently he starts to reach down, and the guy starts screaming at him, "Don't reach down, don't reach." And he says, "I'm going to give you my," I guess he was going for his badge or something. It just keeps on going like this, with the local guy screaming, and pointing a gun at this guy. "Get on the ground, get on the ground." And the other guy, who did turn out to be a Fed, saying, "No, not going to do it, not going to do it." And their argument ensues, and the local is out of control, and the Fed is condescending and superior acting. I mean, that can happen, but most of the Feds I ever worked with weren't, they weren't bad guys, to be honest. I know people like to hate them, and as an overall agency and the way the government is, yeah, I get it, I agree. But most of the guys, that I ever dealt with weren't bad guys. So finally, a second officer comes up, and the Fed goes out. He walks on the sidewalk, and he starts getting down on the ground. And I guess they don't show this part on camera, but for one reason, they tased the Fed to get the cuffs on him or whatever, right? And so now they got the cuffs on him, and they're getting him up. They're taking him to the patrol car. And now the Fed, who was argumentative and condescending and superior acting, is saying, "Oh, sir, please don't, sir, sir." And then they're trying to get him in the patrol car, and he's backing up. He's not letting them put him in. And then he starts saying, "I have a medical issue. I have a medical issue." Okay, well, that's all right. We got medics coming your way. No, and we call this, jailitis. And all of a sudden, somebody's going to the pokey, and and because they want to, they want to go through a screening, they want to stay out of jail. Obviously, I mean that happens all the time. Well, this guy, you could tell that he knew exactly what to say, right? Okay, we got medics coming on the way, because anytime you tase somebody, now when I was on, we didn't carry tasers, but at the hospital, we had tasers, because way back when I was on, there was no such thing as tasers. But that's protocol. You tase somebody, you got to call for medical, to come clear them and make sure everything's okay. He says, no, after they assured him we have medics on the way. No, the taser didn't bother me. I need air. I need air. So, and he's not cooperating. And finally, one of the other cops goes around the other side, which is what you do. You go around the other side and drag him back into the car. And so he's in the car. And he keeps yelling in the car. And now, other cops are showing up. And you can tell by the way the initial cop, the first responding cop, you can tell by the way that he is acting that he's trying to justify his behavior, because he's running all over the place telling everybody, yeah, I had to, he wouldn't respond, and we had to tase him. He's trying to justify his actions. So he knows somewhere in the back of his head that he has screwed up. And he probably didn't know what to do, which is the problem. And that's the danger, guys. That's the danger. We have a devolving quality in our law enforcement, and that doesn't mean that everybody out there is like this, but we've seen this, over the last 20 years, the quality is different. And by different, I mean lower than it has been. Again, it doesn't apply to everybody. We still have some good ones out there. We have some fine ones out there. For the most part, the large city police departments are suffering from it more than the smaller departments, and more than the sheriff's departments. But for whatever, they finally get them in a car, and they're all out there, and they're trying to cover their butts for tasing a Fed. They never, for what I saw, checked his credentials. But, who knows? The Fed has a big lawsuit on him now, and we'll see what comes out. He's probably going to win himself a chunk of money, even though he could have cooperated too. So the sergeant gets there, and, they after an hour, and I guess they call this guy supervisor, and after an hour they finally let him go. So he's suing their asses. And as part of his suit, apparently he's maintaining that, or the ATF is maintaining that he has been reassigned to administrative duties because of the injuries he sustained during the arrest. Well, of course, we all know that that's BS. It's added because he acted improperly in the field, but they want to add also to, because they're pissed that the Columbus PD screwed with one of their guys, right? That's the way it goes. And so this is going to add to, what their lawyer presents, or what the agent's lawyer presents. And also, as a result of this, horrendous treatment by the officers, he has had to be reassigned away from his calling on his love of the job in the field, and he has to work in an office now, which is causing him all sorts of mental problems. I mean, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. That's what it's all about. Okay, here's the problem, and here's the danger. There are too many police officers out there, too many law enforcement, actually, I'll just say everywhere, too many law enforcement who don't know how to act, and that becomes a danger. There was no reason for this cop to come out of his car with a gun in his hand, pointing it at this man, screaming, "Get on the ground," or whatever he said at first. I forget. Go watch it, you'll see. But there was no reason for it. He could have walked up to the guy and said, "Hey, what's going on?" That's the way I would have handled it. That's how most of us would have handled it back in my day. And guess what? We got stuff handled. We handled it. We didn't start fires when there weren't any, and we didn't fan the flames of a fire that could be put out easily if you just handled it right. And you could have walked up and said, "Hey, what's going on?" Nothing. I'm so and so. I'm a federal agent here. I'm gonna reach for, and this is the way it should have gone. If he didn't have his badge, and he should have had his badge in his hand, and he was dressed in a polo shirt. I mean, there was nothing on him that said ATF or federal agent or anything. He just had some hands. For all this guy knows, he's a a bounty hunter or something. Who knows? And yeah, I'm so and so. He should have had his badge in his hand, and if he didn't, he could have said, I'm gonna reach right over here, and my badge is in my pocket, and I'm gonna get it, and with 2 fingers, and I'm gonna show you. And the cop should have said, okay, long as you don't pull anything that was gonna hurt me, and pointed at me, and they would have chuckled, and the guy would have said, oh yeah, no problem, and he pulled it out and showed him his badge. And then from there on, the cop could have been helping this agent, you see, and then gone, and once he saw his paperwork and I forget what they call it. It was a denial that had come back on the purchase of a shotgun. I don't know. And then he could have gone up. He should have gone up, knocked on the door. Ma'am, yes, turns out that this is Agent so-and-so with the ATF. And, this is aside from what you may feel about the ATF or anything else. And whatever you feel, I probably agree with you. So let's not argue about that, okay? We're arguing about how to handle things and what to be careful about in this situation. Knocked on the ma'am. I'm glad you called. Good thing you called. Always do that. We appreciate you, letting us know what's going on. This is Agent so-and-so of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and he does have his paperwork in order, and here's what we need to see and all that. And then she could have said, well, do you have a search warrant? And they said, well, no, ma'am, we don't. And she could have said, well, you ain't coming in. And they would have said, okay, ma'am, that's true, because legally we can't come in without a warrant, And then it might have progressed in other ways, but it would not have progressed the way that it did. Here's the danger. Law enforcement on both sides, on all sides, too much law enforcement, are reactive. They are full of their own perceived power and authority. As a result, they are a danger to too many citizens and each other. I see this more and more, and I don't look for this stuff online. I'm sure that maybe some of you do, and you could probably send me stuff that I'd be shaking my head all day, but this just happened to come out. Think about this. Think about how you want to handle things. When we talk, because this is a preparedness channel, think about how you should and would handle things if this happens. And pre-plan it. Know exactly what your rights are. Know exactly what you should do in these situations. Now, calling the local police is a great step. Hopefully you get one that's not a yahoo like this one was. I can't imagine any of our guys, because I know a lot of the city cops in our city. I don't think any of them would have handled it like that. They would have handled it just like I would have handled it 30 years ago. Hey, man, what's going on? Let's see what's going on here, and, we'll figure it out. But there's too many who won't, and that's a danger, okay? And I don't see it getting any better. It's not going to get any better. So keep that in mind. This evening or tomorrow, I'm going to be making one that I'll put on both channels that I've been wanting to get around to for, a couple weeks. And it was about a horrendous police shooting of a teenager right here in our city. And I've mentioned this a little bit in the past, but I'm going to go through the entire case. And now that it has gone through the courts and a decision has been made, I'm going to read you everything, exactly how it went down, of what I consider to be the murder of a teenage boy by the police department here. And I'm going to name the officer's name and everything like that. And I think it is something needs to be talked about. So later today, later this evening, we've got stuff to do. It's Sunday. It is September 11. I'm not going to make a September 11 video. I'm sure a lot of people will. Maybe some other day I'll that's probably not necessary. But later today, I'll probably put that up, or tomorrow, and. Because it does give, I think there are some important lessons in it. So with that, remember that our sponsor for all of these things, as always, is the Stonemont series, the Reversion, the Revival, the Renewal, An Appeal to Heaven, and the Blessings of Freedom. This series, by me, yes, it's by me. Did I hold it up so you can see it's actually by me? Did I show you the back so you can see? Yes, look, there he is. It's about how to prepare for, how to survive, and how to rebuild after a total collapse. Whatever kind of collapse that may be, it could be adjusted to your situation. It's a great story. It's an adventure. It's a love story. It's a story about foundational principles and God and family and the proper role of government and survival and justice and the American way, right? So anyway, if you haven't read them, there they are. I put down here in the information column or information section and a pinned comment how to get them. You can either get them from Amazon in paperback or Kindle, or you can get them directly from me, autographed. It takes longer to get them from me autographed because, and I just sent out a whole bunch of orders, and I'm almost out again, and so I'm sorry, but I keep running out of books. Thank you all for your orders. You're snowing me under. It's great. The fault is mine. I just need to order more at a time. I never expected that so many people would, because most sales are through Amazon, and I never expected that so many people would be wanting autographed copies. So I'm sorry for any of you who have waited longer than you wanted to, but they're coming. And order them if you'd like. Just be prepared to wait a little bit. Okay. You all have a good day. Remember, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and preparing today means kind of mind gaming. How would I respond in a situation that came up? And that situation with Columbus PD and the feds is it's one of those things you got to think about. Ask yourself and plan, what would I do if that happened? Okay, you all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.